Okay, hello, Rai Ahmed is with you back again, and now we're talking about the first lesson in FreeBSD, and we're going to use FreeBSD 64-bit. FreeBSD is a Unix operating system, it's not a Linux distribution. The reason I mentioned that is that FreeBSD is an operating system based on the Unix standards, and the Unix is an operating system that I mean, like, it has like, if you want to say that this operating system is a Unix, it has to go through a certification test, like what happens in this page. Those people are the open group, and they are the people who set the standards for like defining that this system, okay, and pointing at this system, okay, and claiming this system, okay, and however you would like to say it, okay, this system is a Unix if it passes through those checks, okay, and those checks make the standard that says this OS, this operating system, is a Unix. Okay, so the open group are the people who are responsible to set those standards. Okay, now and the site of the open group is opengroup.org. Maybe I should open the editor and make things bigger. Okay, so here's my settings. Should have done that before, no problem. Okay, so this is the open group website, and I think I should give you the whole thing. Okay, and we need to get FreeBSD to download it, so we go to freebsd.org. Okay, and there's a place where it says here you got the latest releases, so I'm going to use the 9.0. By the way, the Arabic version of the tutorial starts with version 8.1. okay, but here I'm going to start with release 9, and just go to this one. Okay, and then according to your operating system, in your CPU architecture, like whether it's an Intel or maybe some Sun Spark, whatever. Okay, so I just have to go to the page where it talks about the ISO images. Okay, so there are two methods. Okay, either you use the torrents, okay, which is a better way, because you know for real and for sure that your file is 100% perfectly downloaded with no losses at all. Okay, or if you'd like, you can use those one of those mirrors. Okay, so if we go through the torrents, okay, there's the torrent list, and you can just use any torrent downloader. For example, you've got uTorrent. Okay, I'm not going to teach you how to use a torrent, but you've got uTorrent. Okay, to download through torrent. And okay, download the free version. Okay, and through it you use the torrent link, and from the torrent link over here, okay, you download the torrent link. Okay, you download the file, okay, related to the torrent link, and from that link you paste it to the uTorrent, and then you may download it. Okay, the uTorrent is if you are using mostly Windows or Mac. Okay, there's a Linux version, I think, doesn't matter. Okay, on Linux you can use, for example, I use here, for example, Qubit torrent. Okay, you may use any torrent client. Now, regarding downloading directly from their mirrors, okay, you can use, for example, this link. You've got too many ISO images. Now, I use the DVD version, okay, and you download the one that suits you. If you want 64-bit, of course, you have to use the AMD 64, okay, for your Intel machine, okay. Now Spark is always a 64, and if you got like IA64, it's an Itanium. It's not an normal Intel, it's an Itanium processor, okay. And for 32-bit is i386. And here you've got also they produce for PowerPC, all PowerPCs, okay. And just to save that file until you get it downloaded, okay, I prefer that you download it overnight, okay. Now, moving on. Now I have had made, or I did make virtual machine, so we can explain on it. I'm running a Linux hosting that virtual machine, okay. It's not a real machine, it's like a simulation of a machine that I'm going to install the system, the FreeBSD on, okay. Now, it's up to you, use whatever resources you'd like to use, okay. I made like 1 gigabyte, and I have like an i7 CPU, so I used 8 processors, okay, the whole processors. Of course, I read my ISO image directly because I'm using a virtual machine. If you are using a if you want to go through a real machine, you have to use real CD and burn that ISO over CD. The ISO file must be transformed into I don't know how many files. It has to spread as files on the DVD after you burn it. And we go on and start. Now here it's starting, okay. Forget about these things, this is just related to VMware, the virtual machine simulator. And then I move here. Now I press enter right away, okay. There's things here that are mentioned in this menu are not that important. Those are for just maybe you want to debug something, okay, you have some trouble. Now I wait. Okay, and here the kernel of the FreeBSD system is loading, okay. So all those like flashing things coming, like those quickly listed, I don't know what I say, being listed lines, okay, those are the kernel. And here now from the RC, you've seen the RC line. This is where the scripts, okay, to start the installation of FreeBSD starts. Now here next what we have to select, okay. We start from the word install, okay. You press enter. See, by the way, you can use the arrows of your keyboard just to move, and you can use the tab button just to move between the selections, okay. Now by the way, the installer of 9.0 is the default one, okay. The BSD install is different from the sysinstall that used to be used in the earlier releases, okay. So you press enter on the install, and he's asking you whether you want to change your keyboard mapping. I prefer just to keep it on the US, the American English, and I say press no. Now he is asking you for the name of this machine, okay. So I'm gonna use here FreeBSD and press OK. Now, what are the components that you want to copy from your DVD? Okay, so there's the documentation. There's something related to games. They're not really games, just like some textual eye candy, okay, on the terminal of FreeBSD. Okay, what we are seeing now, okay, is a terminal running the installer. Okay, so when you saw those lines with a black background, this is still the terminal. Okay, when the terminal logged in, okay, you are seeing now the system installer. Okay, now this is, I'm selecting through pressing space, and every time I press the space it will toggle the selection, and I move up and down, and then you select the source. Of course you need the source codes because you might need to build something from source. Okay, building from source means that you have a system that's not ready to use. You have to change the text that codes the programming language codes, okay, into a working program. Okay, and then I press OK, and then okay, here we start with partitioning the system. I myself prefer to take a manual, okay, because I want to show you how to partition yourself. So I press manual. Okay, now DA0, here in my system I selected to use a SCSI disk, okay, or a SATA disk. SATA or SCSI, that was the same. Okay, and here we're saying that I have disk A, okay, number 0. Okay, so this is the whole hard drive. I have 10 gigabytes. Okay, so I'm going now to divide this DA0 into different parts. So I must start with create, and here I have different types of partitioning tables. Partitioning tables mean that, or a partitioning table as a definition means that you've got like a table or a listing, okay, similar to, like, you, for example, imagine it's your spreadsheet, and you're saying that this partition starts from this point until this point, and the next partition starts from this point until this point. Okay, so this spreadsheet or this table, okay, holds all the information of our disk divisions. Okay, so now the classic way of doing it, okay, it's not old, of course, but it's the classic usual way to do partitioning, is using the Mbr partitioning, the DOS way, where you have a primary partition and logical partitions. Okay, and you start from like this. Let's use drawing software so we can paint something or describe it. So in Paint, here I'm going to use let's use this, doesn't matter. So I'm going to make it bigger also. Yep. No, not this one. This is the really awkward. Let's use another software. Sorry, guys. Okay. Just be patient with me. Okay, so So in the Mbr method of partitioning is this way. You've got, like, you can have up to 4 primary partitions. Okay, so we'll use something like this one. Let's say, no, this way. I'm going to use this way. The let's say the black filled black are the primary ones. Okay, so you can have up to 4, maximum is a 4, but you can do it like this. The first primary, then you can have another primary, then another primary. Okay, then the last one. Okay, you can use, for example, you can use it as primary, but if you want to divide more, you must use something like an extended one. Okay, and within this one you can divide it later with logical ones. Okay, maybe I can use the green line, green color, I mean. So this one, and so on. Okay, now if you delete this one, okay, you must start. Okay, you must start directly with a logical partition. If you want to delete those two, okay, and you want to have so many partitions, like as in the case of logical partitions, okay, you must start with a logical partition. So you have up to 3, and then you can start with a logical partition. Okay, I understand. I did not really explain it well, but I know this is how it should work. Okay, so you have up to 3 partitions which are primary, and then you can start with a logical. Okay, if you want to make another primary, okay, it has to be after the logical. Okay, otherwise this part, the primary partition aims to boot your operating system. Okay, in Linux you can boot from a logical partition, but in FreeBSD by default you can't. You have to use a primary partition so you can boot your FreeBSD system. Okay, now going back to our partitioning. Now, as we see, we have also GPT. Okay, now what's the difference between Mbr and GPT? GPT can let you partition your system up to 128 partitions. Okay, on the same disk, or on the same partition table, which is the same disk. Sorry. So, but Mbr, as you have seen, you can have simply as if you're saying you have 4 partitions only. You can't do any more. Okay, I know we are doing like primary, like logical partitionings, but this is still like constraining. Okay, so I'm going to use the GPT, which is the new way in FreeBSD 9. Okay, and it tells you that there is a new partition table in use. Okay, and then I press again create. Okay, on that disk. Now the disk has now a GPT partition. Now you can have on the type, as you see, you can have as FreeBSD-UFS, which is the the everyday file system. The file system is the way you format the disk, is the way you prepare your disk to write on, is the way you organize the files on your system. Okay, not just the files as in file names, also how the bits and pieces of each file is written on your disk, so you can access it as fast as possible and as quick as possible. Okay, so I have just only 10 gigabytes. Now I'm going to use like 100 megabytes. Okay, and I'm going to use this just for /boot. Okay, and see you've got what DA0P1, okay, which is partition 1 from the disk 0, okay, which is the first disk. I don't have any other disk on this system. If you have another disk, you should see a DA1, okay. Now if you have an IDE disk, it will be a different labeling, okay, but I have this disk which is DA0, okay, and the next one it will be DA1 and so on. Now another time I'm going to use another partition here, and I'm going to say, for example, here I have to have like 9 gigabytes, and I'm going to say that this is my the starting directory from which I see my system, okay. On FreeBSD, it's unlike or any Unix like system. There's nothing called, as you see in Windows, you don't have C or D or whatever. You have a folder from which you read the system. So this is your partition. So there's a folder from where you read that partition. So this is the mount point, okay, and you start from the root of that tree, or the starting point of reading the whole file system or whole files, okay, start from slash, okay. So if you have, for example, later a Windows partition and you want to read it, okay, you must, or some kind of file DOS file system, okay, like FAT, okay, so, or NTFS, whatever, you must start like mnt/windows, okay, something like this. So you have to use this folder to read the contents of your Windows partition, okay. Now I say okay. Okay, this is, I made a mistake here. I must delete this one. Okay, you have to have 64 kilobytes of FreeBSD boot, okay, and then you can, and this one, the FreeBSD boot is the place where your system will boot from, okay. And I'm gonna add another one, which is the rest megabytes, okay, which we call them the swap. The swap is where you have something like this. Look at me. Look at what I'm gonna draw for you. Now I'm gonna clear all this. I'll make a new one, it's better. Okay, now imagine I have this disk. This is my disk, okay. Okay, and of course I have many programs running at the same time. Now I have this as my RAM, okay. Now every time you run a program, you will have something like, let's say, change the colors. So every time you have a partition in the memory, okay, or some segment of the memory set for a different application. Now imagine that you got an application that wants to take over the size of, for example, you've got, this is left from here till here, okay, and you want more but you don't have. So what you do is, for example, you take this pawn, this fellow here, and then move it and copy this segment to the hard drive in a partition which we call the swap. This way you move this software or this application that's running here in the RAM, like for just some kind of like putting him on delay for a while, okay, and then or some like you're pausing that application for a while, and then you can give the additional space for in the RAM, okay, for that new application. So this one here, it will be the additional space, okay, that this program wants. Okay, so this way we are swapping every time between and changing between the hard disk and the RAM for the sake of giving more memory space. And it's necessary that you do this partition, because otherwise your system might, if you want more RAM, crash your applications. So it might let the system crash the applications, and the system also will not allow you to add more memory to your operating system, okay, and to your computer, so it can consume it. So this is the swap. The swap has no mount point because it's the swap, okay. It's known that it is the swap. You won't be reading anything else other than the swap. And the swap, by the way, while you're working, you won't be seeing anything from it, okay. So back to your, and here I press OK, and I've got a swap, okay. Now it is preferred that you create, like if I for example modified this one and I changed for example the size of this one, I thought I can change it. I thought I can change it. Now doesn't matter, I can delete the rest here, delete this one and delete this one and just make another one, okay. This one for example, if I want to say as an example, like make my file system as the whole file system is an 8 gigabytes, okay, and this is the slash here, and then I say okay. And it's better that you make to create another one, and you got for example, let's say this is 1 gigabyte, okay, for your slash home, where you will save all your private data, okay, personal data, and like your documents, your mp3s, your whatever, okay, all your documents, from legal documents, whatever you have, okay, or your homework, whatever, you can save it in slash home slash the username that we will be creating later, okay. And then I'm gonna create, of course, the swap. So I'm gonna change this FreeBSD dash swap, okay, and then I say finish, okay, and I commit, okay. If you are really sure of what you're doing, you will be committing. In this setting, okay, we are deleting the whole drive, and we are like shredding it over and making a new land with the new things, okay. So I'm committing. Now it's copying everything from my CD-ROM, okay, or DVD, however the disk that you selected, or whatever the size you selected, okay, a CD or a DVD. And we wait. So here's now the operating system now is copying everything into your file system, okay. Now I'm gonna pause the recording, okay, and we will be back after this finishes, okay. Okay, now we're moving to the next step. Now here he is asking us for the password of your system administrator. Okay, the system administrator in FreeBSD is called root. Okay, so here ROOT. Okay, so this is system admin. Okay, now I'm going to use my own password and then type it. Now here he is asking you for to configure your network interface, to give it an IP. Okay, so and the plip is like you're using your parallel line port, which is like using your old printer interface. So I pressed enter on the EM, which is my network card, okay, which is the Intel card I have. Now, do you want to configure an IPv4 for this interface now? Yes. And do you want to have a DHCP for this interface? If you want to have it as a DHCP, it means that you're going to use automatic addressing for your system. Okay, now I'm going to say no, and then I'm going to provide my own IPs. Okay, now 68.0.6, or let's say for example 70. Okay, and I'm gonna do it again. Yes, no, and then I'm gonna fill 192.168.0.70 and 255.255.255.0, and I'm gonna use 192.168.0.1. okay guys, for this addressing, I just wanted to show you what's on IP. Many of you, I think, know about the IP if you're going to use FreeBSD. Those who don't know how to set those IPs, I advise you to read something about subnetting, network subnetting. Okay, so I'm gonna proceed with saying OK, and I don't want to use IP version 6. IP version 6 is an address space for IPs. That's like the IP version 4 is 32-bit in length, while like 32 digits of either 1 or 0. Okay, that's in binary counting, and the IP version 6 is 128 bits, okay, or 128 digits of 1s or 0s. Okay, so I don't want to use IP version 6 at all because I already don't use it. And here I'm gonna set my DNS. Look, it's better to use Google's, which is 8.8.8.8. okay, wherever you are, Google's addressing is awesome because you can resolve all names or host names or the like the www something, okay, .coms, all those names on your web browser. They will be always resolved into an IP number. Okay, and then if you can use also as the the backup domain, the second one, DNS2, as your own routers. Okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna say here no for my time. If you live somewhere in America or something like that, just fix it up to your own taste. Okay. And I'm gonna go through Asia. And I'm gonna use my own country, which is Lebanon. Okay. No, yeah, it should be reasonable. Anyway, it's Lebanon. I don't know. Now, here he's asking you for what you're going to start when the system starts. Okay. Now I need to use the secure shell server, because this way I can access the workstation from anywhere on my network. Okay, and remotely control it through everyday Unix commands. Okay, and here I have a mouse daemon. Okay, that you can find, like, you see your mouse moving also on your terminal. Okay, and of course we need an NTPD so it can synchronize the time for me. Okay, and maybe a power D to synchronize my or to make my CPU frequency move, like you have scaling. Okay, if you have, for example, something like a laptop, or current CPUs have, all of them have CPU scaling. Okay, so you can save power. Now here is asking you about the crash dumps. If, like, God forbid, like FreeBSD crashes, what do you want to save all your crashing, okay, information, or your crash information? So I myself don't want to enable this. I don't care about it, just because this is just for education. Okay, if you are truly on a real production system, enable it, because you need it for debugging reasons. Now, you want to add users, everyday users. Of course, we need a username other than the administrator. You don't use the administrator like whatever happens. Okay, so you just use it whenever you want to just do some kind of system configuration, some kind of system amendments, system redefining things. Okay, so or some kind of updates, something like installing a new software. So I want to use another user. Here I'm gonna call my own user as Oracle. Okay, I'm used to use this because it's good to use it when you, for example, have an Oracle system later, you want to install it. Of course, I'm gonna talk about installing Oracle. Okay, but when you have it, having a user named Oracle for your system is cool to have. Okay, and then I'm gonna say, for example, here's my name, Rani Faiz Ahmed. You can find me also on Facebook, and I'm gonna give the user ID. The user ID is a unique number for like corresponding to the username. Okay, I'm gonna use the default. Always leave them as default. Okay, and you want to make a group for this user. Okay, make Oracle. Okay, if you want to have it belong to other groups, just do. Okay, so this way you can, for example, make a group for all the users on the system. Okay, which share similar attributes. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like as is, and login class, I'm gonna go with the default. Now, what is your shell interpreter? Okay, the shell interpreter is the one that's gonna interpret your commands and your scripts. Okay, every shell interpreter has a different way of reading your scripts. Okay, for now I'm gonna leave it as is. Okay, and maybe I'll change it to C, okay, which is the C shell. Okay, when you say no login, it doesn't use a login screen. Maybe you can also use a different thing other than those shells, maybe some kind of script of your own. Okay, so when you log in, it will run that script right away. Okay, and when you log out, it will quit that script and go out to log out. Okay, you don't go to the prompt at whatsoever. Okay, so I'm gonna use C, and my home directory is this one, which is /home. Under the root folder / I have /home/oracle. Everybody will have a /home/his username. Okay, now I'm gonna leave the permissions as they are. Okay, and use password based authentications. You want to use passwords for this username? Yes. So do you want to leave it with an empty password? I say no, I must have a password. Okay, use a password, random password? No, I don't want to use a random password. I want to use my own. So I'm gonna enter mine. Okay, so do you want to lock the account after creation? No, I don't want to lock it. I don't want to close on it. I want to open it for that user to log in. Okay, and then everything is okay. Now I'm gonna say yes, type yes. Okay, and it's added successfully. You want to add more? Just say yes, and we'll do the next one and next one and next one. Okay, I'm saying no. Now everything is done. Okay, I'm gonna exit the installer and just reboot, and that's all. Okay, I don't want to make any other final modifications. Okay, and I just reboot, and we'll see what will happen after this reboot, because everything should be fine. Okay, well, I'm just waiting to see if it boots, if it's booting from the CD-ROM or from the hard drive. Okay, if it's from the hard drive, you should see a login prompt, and I think it started on the hard drive, because we are seeing nothing regarding the. See, this is SSH. See, this is the mouse that I'm telling you about. I know it might be very tiny on your video. Okay, but this is the mouse. Okay, and I've got the shell. This is the cron D, which is your scheduled applications to run some kind of scheduled scripts. Okay, and here's everything. So thanks for watching, but just for a test, I'm gonna use like Oracle, and you see, it's typing Oracle. Okay, so this is my system, and I'm gonna log out, and I'm gonna use root, and this is my system again. Okay, please subscribe, and thanks for watching again. Okay, and hope you liked it.